Sorry.
We are on live, and thank you everyone who are watching us. This is the first episode of our talk series from Nepalese American Alliance for Action, Young Double FA, and today's host is Dr. Uttam Gaulee. He's a very trusted leader of American higher education. Policy analyst, author, and keynote speaker, Dr. Gaulee currently serves as the chair of the University Council at Morgan State University. I could see a little bit of echo on your side there. Yeah. He brings the administration, faculty, professional staff, and student together to advance the mission of his institution forward. So Dr. Gaulee has devoted over 2 decades of his academic and professional life to promoting solutions related to student success, workforce development, and institutional effectiveness, while serving in increasingly higher capacities of the Community College Future Assembly and Bellwether College between 2012 to 2016. He collaborated with multiple national commission and affiliated council of the American Association of Community Colleges. A recipient of the Fulbright 2010 and Cross Award from the Association of American Colleges and Universities, Dr. Gaulee is actively promoting and developing a technical and vocational education and training sector in various developing countries, including Nepal. He has a very long CV. It will take a whole night to read everything. So I'm not going to do that. So Dr. Gaulee serves as the president of the Society of Transnational Academic Researchers STAR, which aims to advance global social mobility through innovative research and progressive advocacy effort. That's what our program motto lies. And today he is a moderator for this program. All you need to know about the farmer protest in India. We have a special guest, Dr. Gaulee. Floor is yours. And thank you for starting this talk series. And I would like to request to welcome the guest. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, Delegate Bhandari. You are a real paragon of what a minority can do in a country like the United States of America, and we're very proud of you. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity of awareness. You've been an inspiration to many young people. And we have a very, very special guest today who I would like to introduce you. Karanbir Singh. Mr. Karanbir Singh Sekhon is my friends. We worked together at the University of Florida in the student government in my previous life, I would say. From our work together in Florida, I know that Karanbir is a man of integrity, intellect, and influence. The first time in the history of the big university, a minority party came to power due to Karanbir's activism. So obviously he is an activist, and he is driven by the Sikh values, which align well with American values, which celebrate diversity and religious liberty. Sikh communities foster love, equity, and acceptance all, like the US Bill of Rights. Sikh structure promotes ideas of equality and freedom to push the path of peace and prosperity. After leaving the University of Florida, I'm aware that Karanbir went on to work for a big corporation in the United States known as CVS, which is ranked 5th on the Fortune 500 list, just behind Apple, ExxonMobil, Amazon, and Walmart. And it's been several years since we haven't seen each other, but recently I've come to learn that he has been involved with the farmers' protest in India. While the farmers' protest is now becoming a global issue, my interest is particularly piqued because Karanbir is involved in this movement. I know he comes from a family of farmers in Punjab. I think it is a great opportunity for us to learn more about it, especially to understand the farmer's perspective. We already know where the government stands in this, and there's a lot going on. So I would definitely like to start it off. Karanbir, if you're ready, please enlighten us on the ground realities of this farmers' movement in India.
Hello, Dr. Gaulee, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
First, I'm really grateful and humbled for having me, for you guys having me on the show, and I really appreciate what Delegate Harry Bhandari and yourself have been doing for the community, not just in America but overseas and developing countries, trying to help students and try to build alliance which are helping the world be a better place. So I'm very humbled to be part of your this initiative today, and coming to the farmers protest. And I think it has been a very spiritual experience for me as well, because although I was born in India, but going to public universities abroad and working with corporations, know in Western countries, in North America especially, you are usually caught up with your fast life and you forget about the realities of the world. How you have the food that's being put onto your table, how that food comes to you, how there is a human somewhere in the world tilling the land and putting the seed into that soil and doing all the hard manual labor so that we can enjoy those delicious cuisines, as we, if you will. So I think that has been a very spiritual experience for me. I see this farmers protest has taught me about so many realities of life. So firstly, all this that is going on in the ground, it is very sad and it's very unfortunate that people who have been putting the food on our tables for centuries have to go through this, have to be labeled as terrorists, have to be labeled as you know uh, anti-nationals, have to be thrown into jails. It has been more than 100 days of protest just in Delhi, and this protest has been going in other parts of the country since I think June of 2020, despite COVID. And more than 250 farmers have lost their lives. More than 125 farmers are either missing, or their families don't know whether they're alive, or um, they've lost them completely. And it's a very sad situation on the ground. Thousands of farmers all across the country are either in jails or are facing legal you know uh, consequences. They've been charged with cases with sedition, you know uh, which is like uh, being called yourself a traitor to the country. So it is very disgraceful that people who have no arms, who are protesting peacefully, have to go through such kind of inhumane torture and humiliation by other government authorities, people who have laid their lives for the country in all uh, you know um, um, centuries of the history that we see. Farmers have given so much to the country, and now they're asking for a basic price for their crops, and they're being thrown into jails, and all these things are happening. So it's very sad and ingrateful to see what is happening. And I'm just trying to give in my 2 cents, because of major reason is that I belong to a farming family. My father's been a farmer, my grandfather's been a farmer. We have served in the Indian army since my grandfather was the first commissioned colonel of the Indian army. So we just have a history with army and farmers. So as there is a very famous saying by our Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri, who said, "Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan." So hail the farmers and hail the soldiers. So I come from a family of soldiers and farmers. So I felt it was my utmost duty to be part of this protest and be the voice for the people who don't have a voice, or either if they can speak, they cannot maybe connect with many people in other languages, and with the international diaspora.
Okay, Karanbir, thank you so much for shedding light on some of the ground realities there. And we have a empathy, definitely, with the farmers, because farmers are very critical in the food system throughout the world. We have a lot of respect for farmers, and I believe Indian people are too. But you brought some of the very concerning issues, human rights violation, accusation of your groups being terrorists or seditionists or anti-national, etc., which I saw was big in Indian media, because I actually traveled to India recently. I was going through New Delhi, and I became very aware. But one thing that really attracted my attention was one of your mottos that somehow said something like this: आगे रखेंगे देश का झंडा, पूरा करेंगे किसान का एजेंडा. इसका क्या मतलब है? What does that mean? You hear me?
I think there was a bit required. The last part, sir. Hello.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You can hear me?
Yes, Karanbir. So my question was, when I was traveling through India, I heard those narratives that are propagated by the government side. But in your motto, I saw "आगे रखेंगे देश का झंडा, पूरा करेंगे किसान का agenda." What do you mean by that?
Around 20. Can you hear me? Just I think can you hear me better now? I think there was a chat. There in chat they were saying there's even.
Yes, go on, go on.
Okay, so what we meant by the slogan is we basically were trying to when 26th January was nearing, so the government of India was trying its best to torpedo
Hello.
the
Yeah, I
the
think
efforts of the farmers and
I
trying
can't.
to
We can hear you.
blame them and call them Khalistanis.
Karanbir. We can. I think we lost Dr. Gaulee. Is he there? Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I don't
But
think we can
I
hear
can
you.
continue with the questions.
We can hear you.
Okay, for some reason.
Yeah. Let's wait. Thank you, everyone. Due to some connectivity issues, so our guest is reconnecting. Yeah, just wait for a few seconds. Sorry for the inconvenience. Daksab? Yeah, I think we lost him, so I think he's reconnecting.
Yeah, that sounds like that. In the meantime, can we pull Majumdarji? MMG, is he there?
Yeah, let me pull him. Yes, we can pull him. Yep.
Yes, he's trying to reconnect.
Mr. Man is there. Mr. Man.
Hello? Bear with us, please. I'm trying to get an
Daksab, I think there is some connectivity issues. सो केही भन्न चाहनुहुन्छ? हाम्रो धेरै नेपालीहरू दर्शकहरूले हेरिराख्नु भएको छ डाक्टर साहब. इन द मिन टाइम हाम्रो साथीहरू आउनुभन्दा
किसानको
पर्पस अफ द प्रोग्राम
आन्दोलन चलिरहेको छ इन्डियामा. त्यो किसान आन्दोलनमा इन्भल्भ भएको साथीसँग हामीले कुरा बुझ्न खोजेको हो के भइरहेछ भनेर. अब त्यही आन्दोलनमा सहभागी भइरहेको साथी दिल्लीबाट भर्खर यहाँ आइरहनु भएको. उहाँ मेरो पुरानो साथी पनि भएको हुनाले उहाँकै मुखबाट यो कुरा बुझौँ भनेर हो. नेपालमा पनि विभिन्न किसिमको इस्युहरू छँदैछ यो विषयमा. एकैछिन
So he's back.
डिभाइसबाट नेट पाउन खोजिरहेको.
He's back. He's back.
Karanbir, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, perfect. So, Dr. Saab, you were mentioning about the slogan. So, I basically coined that slogan, दो लाइनों में, in 2 lines, we try to, get the spirit of the protest. We try to capture the spirit of the protest. So what we basically meant was that when they say the people who are protesting are terrorists, people who are protesting are separatists, are Pakistanis, Khalistanis, because there has been a push by the media in recent years that they've tried to build a narrative that anybody that is protesting anywhere in India has been declared anti-national. So anybody that speaks against the government becomes anti-national. So what we were trying to prove was that this protest has nothing to do with anti-nationalism, separatism. If you wear a turban in the country, if you're a Sikh, I mean, and you've done so much for the country, you've laid lives, you've, put on free food, you helped the country through all the, whether they be hurricanes, whether they be, tsunamis, whether they be any, wars, with the neighboring countries, but the moment you ask for your rights, the moment you protest against the government, you become a Khalistani. If you are a Muslim and you wear a cap, a skull cap, and you could have done so much for the country, for country's freedom, and you have contributed for the country in many ways. But the moment you ask for your rights, you become a Pakistani. You get labeled by the media in such a way. If you are a tribal, or if you are a rural, part of the rural, because India still lives in villages. But with the moment you ask for your rights, or somebody's a big corporation is trying to take over your lands, and the government is trying to, take away your lands, the moment you ask for rights, you become a next light. So there has been, and if you live in if you're a Hindu living in a city and somebody takes away, your rights, and you're asking and you're protesting, you become an urban Nexalite. So we try to break that narrative that everybody is Indian. So sabse upar rakhenge desh ka agenda, that we will always hold our national flag high in the air. That was the first line. That nobody's Nexalite, nobody's Pakistani, nobody's Khalistani, everybody's an Indian first. Then the second line is Pura karke rahenge kisan agenda, that we will pursue this agenda of the farmers, to our best ability. So these were we thought that this 2 lines define the farmers protest. So that was why we formed it. And now we've come up with our third slogan, which is MSP or martyr, which basically means that we will fight until our last breath, until martyrdom, to get this minimum support price. Because this has been promised again and again, even by the present ruling party, beginning from 2011, when they were fighting elections in the state of Gujarat, then 2014, the general elections, 2019, they went again and again said that we will give the farmers the basic minimum support price for their crops, which includes the invested money of the farmer and the labor of the farmers, not just the farmers, their family and everybody. Because what happens is when you go into the market to sell your crop, you basically get dimes for $1. You don't even get, like, if just imagine potatoes, right? potatoes would sell for 30 to 40 rupees in a regular day in a market, and farmers get 1 rupee or 2 rupees for selling their crop. So it's such a a bad state of affairs that farmers are in right now.
Yeah, we are hearing concerning issues about the human rights. According to some news reports, I'm seeing that so far 250 farmers have lost their lives. I think some of them committed suicide, and the protest has been ongoing for more than 100 days now. So why do you think the two parties are not pursuing a dialogic environment at this point? And what exactly are the issues? What are these farm bills, and what is the bone of contention? Why are the farmers protesting against these bills that I believe came through ordinance, or how did these bills come into play?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Saf, for asking that question, because not many people know this, that the farmers have been on the streets for more than 100 days now. More than 250 farmers, because this was, the North Indian winter is very harsh. And although, farmers are accustomed to be outdoors, but, people are old, people are aged, you know, uh, either somebody's thrown into a prison, you know. So many people have lost their lives just because of the harsh climate, just being on the streets. So it's very sad and very unfortunate that the food provider of the country is sitting on the streets of Delhi in harsh winter. So that is point one, where why people have lost their lives. So the second one is that more than 125 farmers are missing. Either police has arrested them, either they are in some jail, and legal teams and many non-profit organizations are working day and night to get that information from the police. Because one thing we have to understand is, although Delhi state is a state of its own, but the police of Delhi is still controlled by the home ministry of the union government. So so Delhi in itself, the Delhi police, is controlled by the Union Government of India. They are following many unconstitutional and illegal ways to detain people, because the Constitution of India gives us the fundamental right under Article 19 that anybody can protest peacefully without arms anywhere in the country. So it is our constitutional right to protest if we don't like something. So why are we arrested for being protesting? Nobody is being violent, nobody is picking up arms against the state. So that is another big thing, which is a basic constitutional violation. Then coming to these farm bills, what exactly are these farm bills? If you I would through your channel, I would humbly like to take a couple of minutes to go through all these bills one by one. First, I want to tell you, before going into the bills, that these bills should not be called the farm bills, because there's nothing in these bills that is about the farmer. There's nothing in these bills that is about the crops. It is a total trade and commerce bills which have been disguised as farm
Why do
bills.
you say so, Karan? Were the farmers not involved in formulating this bill?
No, this is the sad truth of our country, that the present government follows no legislative or constitutionally, you know, uh, written process for parliamentary, lawmaking. So there is no parliamentary process. Not a single joint parliamentary committee is formed, and it's just not these farm bills. No stakeholders are ever consulted to make any law since 2019. That is the sad state of affairs in our country. This government forms or creates bills the way they see it, fit for themselves or for their rich corporate friends. So that's what they've been doing. So there is no joint parliamentary. There has been not a single farmer in this country, in India, that requested for these farm bills. And if you allow, I can go through these farm bills really quickly in a minute. The first farm bill is the APMC Mandi, which is the Food Corporation of India buys crops from farmers through a mandi system, through a market system. So the government of India is trying to break the market into two different markets. They're saying it's going to be one market, one country, one agriculture, one system, and all. They're trying to, although they're trying to unify, but that is something that the propaganda is saying. But what they're doing is they don't know the meaning of free market. Maybe some economist needs to go and tell them this. So they are trying to split the market into multiple markets. So farmer is going to be abused separately in these markets. So just imagine, if we have New York Stock Exchange, there is a stock for a company X that is selling for $10. There's one market. You can go there, buy 10 shares for yourself. You can make a conglomerate with your friends. You can buy 100 shares, 1,000, million, but the price will still remain same for everybody who's buying the share. That's like a free market. Anybody could buy. The forces of demand and supply come into play. But what they're doing right now is, just imagine they're splitting the stock market into 20 stock markets. The same company X is going to be selling a stock in the same city under different markets. One is going to be on street 64th, one is going to be on this, Fifth Ave. You know, so they're going to be splitting the market, and there is no singular demand and supply. There is going to be no price for the crops. So that is trying to illusion the people that we're going to give you an open market. They don't even understand what the meaning of open market is. They're telling that the farmer of Gujarat can go sell their crop in Bengal. They don't understand the basic thing, that a farmer in Gujarat doesn't have the means to even go to a market 20 kilometers away. They're so poor. The reality of the situation is, the land ownership is less than 2 acres in India. The median monthly income of a farmer is 2,700 rupees, which equates to like $50 in US. So just imagine somebody making $50 a month. How will he take his crop 1,000 kilometers away? He doesn't have the means to even take it 2 kilometers away. So he doesn't have the money. They usually sell it to somebody who comes to their village and buys the crop at a very cheap price, and these people go to big markets and sell it there. So that's how bad it is. It's coming to the second law, which is contract farming. So they're saying that they will come into the country, go to the farmer, and uh, take his land on contract for multiple years. And we've seen this before. Many corporations, like one of the bigger two, Adanis and Ambanis, they've done this with all the scheme of things with their other corporations. They just go in, have people invest money into their gas stations or other businesses, sign contracts with them, and try to create a monopoly over that market. And they become the price makers. They become they take charge of that market. And this, it's not fair for consumers, neither for the people who invest. And there is the basic thing is, they don't want the farmer to have any legal right to pursue that in court. So with this specifically contract farming, there is a written law in that bill which says that a farmer could not go to court if there is any problem. Just imagine, you'd be doing contract farming for big corporations and you cannot even go to court. And the third bill, which is the most dangerous bill, is the amendment that has been done to the Essential Commodity Act 1955. So what they've done is, the state government has amended. So what earlier, no big corporation could hold or black market these crops and keep them under control. There were certain laws that, although they were doing it, but the law of the land was in favor of the consumers. So there is no price maker, there is no monopoly by a single or multiple corporations or oligarchs over the system. But now they have amended that you could go out, buy as much crop as you want from the farmers and hoard it. And I want to tell you this, that the farmers, if even a big farmer who has like 1,000 acres of land, cannot do hoarding, because they have to sell the crops. That's how they make money. So this is only favoring the big corporations. So these are basic three laws.
Government is saying, Karanbir, is that these bills actually lay the framework for allowing farmers to sell products directly to corporates. That is the argument. And if they have farmers at the center, why are the farmers protesting over 100 days in Delhi at this point. What are you accusing the government of doing here? What is your charge? Government says they are doing the good thing. They are helping the farmers, but farmers are not happy with it. What is it that actually is the agenda, the government agenda right here?
So what basically the farmers are protesting is that the two things. First, they want the government to abolish these bills. So what is happening is that these three bills, because if you look at the Constitution of India, there are three lists. One is the union list, which is the list of items that the union government can make laws on. Second is the concurrent list, which both the union government and the state governments can make laws on. The third is the state list, which is only the state governments can make laws on. Agriculture and land are clearly state issues. No government, no union government. It has been mentioned clearly there are 66 items on that list. No union government can ever make laws on these two topics. So first, this is unconstitutional. They should have never made laws on these two, agriculture or land. Second, the farmers want all these bills to be abolished. They don't want any interference from the Union Government of India into farming or into their land. They don't, because we don't want them to have contract farming bills, or we don't want to have any law by the Union Government on this. Third is, for last 25 years, government after government, even the previous governments before the present ruling party, they have never helped the farmer. We've been requesting them again and again that, please give us a minimum support price, please give us a written law that guarantees that you will buy our crop at this minimum price, which takes care of the effort and the money that we've invested in. So let alone the effort, we can't even recover the money that we put into our crops. So that is a very long standing issue that the Indian farmer has been fighting for like more than 25 years now. So sometimes these present ruling party and the government, they tries to politicize the issue, saying that the opposition has put these farmers on the roads. So I want to ask them one question. If the if the last ruling party had not done anything for the farmers, that's why we voted you in. So how is this opposition? Second, give us the name of one single opposition leader that has been allowed to speak on any stage of the farmers protest, or has any opposition leader been allowed to give any sort of monetary help or financial help to this? Is there any evidence for that? Have they seen anybody? How are they saying this is politically? The history of India,
Karanbir,
they should know the history of India. Since 1907, farmers, Chacha Ajit Singh, the uncle of Shahid Azam Bhagat Singh, he fought against the British, not to not to he fought against the British policies that were trying to take away land. They created a Punjab Land Alienation Act. Mahatma Gandhi, Sardar Patel, they've done so many, like Kheda protest, Dandi Satyagraha, Champaran protest, Bardoli protest. So there have been so many protests in the history of the country that were run by farmers against the policies of the government, not against the government. And this government is deaf, dumb, and blind. They don't even see the farmers dying. That's the sad part. Why can't they even have sympathy for these people who are dying on the streets? I want to give you a fact, which is so unfortunate, that one of the members of the parliament raised the questions that we should have 2 minutes of silence for all the farmers died. The members of the ruling party, they just started like hooliganism in the house. They would not even stand for 2 minutes of silence for the citizens or the farmers, the food providers of the country.
Right there, I have
Isn't that shameful?
Karanbir. Okay, I'm sorry for stopping you again. We want to understand the farmer's perspective right here, because we are, not interested in politics. We have a lot of respect for India as the largest democracy in the world, and that is, we people who love democracy have respect for India, and we hope that the democracy doesn't decline and it functions in true democratic spirit. But you're saying that this government is deaf.
Yeah, I think we lost Dr. Gaulee. Go ahead. Yep, you can respond to that answer.
Yeah, I think the audience might not be able to hear you, Dr. Goli, but because I think I have the other phone on, so I can hear you. So thank you for that question. So I'll just repeat Dr. Goli's question. He's asking, India being the largest democracy, why they're not doing anything for the farmers, and why am I uh, part of this protest? Yeah, so it's a very good question, and I want to uh, humbly request to all the audience that you should please do your independent research. Try to look into independent media. The Indian national media might not be the correct source for information right now, because they most of them are controlled by the big corporations, especially the Ambanis and Adanis. If you Google it, you'll find it. More than 24 channels are just owned by uh, uh, the Reliance, which is the Ambani group. So Adani's owns many other outlets as well. So that is number one. So when I saw news being telecasted by one of the major, it's called ZTV network, that they said the Kisan Desh Ka Dushman, that the farmer is the enemy of the country, and question mark. They telecasted this news. They put people on the podium who are not farmer leaders, you know, you know, uh, just trying to build a narrative which they have been doing, and they try to build a story that suits them. So I thought that I have the experience and the education that needs to be utilized right now to break that narrative. So I took it as my duty, and moreover there were repeated human right violations. So if you look into this, you will find that there is no human right group left in India anymore. India is very fastly progressing towards a fascist country, which is very sad. The opposition government has died. There is no opposition government. The voice of opposition government has died, I will say. There is nobody listens to their voice, as there's a famous saying that absolute power corrupts absolutely. So we see that clearly in India now. You're not allowed to speak. There is no voice for dissent. The moment you protest, you're proven anti-national by the government. Either you're thrown into prisons, or either you get killed. So that is happening again and again. I will give you an incident from this protest. Repeatedly by the police, there have been use of excessive force on women, children, and the elderly. They have used water cannons. They have used lathi charge. Lathi charge is, with bamboo cane sticks. They beat protesters. They have thrown tear gas shells at these protesters, which have expired. So we have evidence, all those evidences. We are even trying to reach to United Nations next Saturday. you know so they use like pellet guns. So this is all inhumane excessive force that is being used at these farmers. There are children as young as 5 years or even younger in the protests that come with their mothers, because people are literally on the streets. They have nowhere to go. What will a farmer do when these people don't have multiple sources of income? They just have their land. When their land is grabbed, when the crop of the price is not paid, I will just bring to your notice the number of farmer suicide that has happened in last 16 years. More than 400,000 farmers, and this is an official number where the government of India have died by suicide in India, especially Maharashtra, Telangana, and Karnataka. So Punjab is still a very progressive farming state. So we see that the farmers in other provinces have a very bad condition. So my conscience didn't allow me to be in America, just having all this good life for myself, because I always think that what reason do I have for, because I could not sleep at night. So I was just feeling that coming from a farming background, if this happens to my family, should I wait until this happens? Should I wait until this fire engulfs my house, or should I start speaking, for the farmers that are already protesting? So I had my answer over there. So that is the reason I'm on the streets.
Okay, Karanbir, that helps. So this is, I mean, because it is over 100 days, the issue is, known more and more around the world, and people are concerned. We are concerned because we are in the United States, we are in the developed countries, but again, we also depend to a significant extent on a lot of food supply chain that comes from India to United States to Canada, and we do want to hear about the stories of farmers.
So that is a very good question, Dr.
Yeah,
Saab.
if you hear that, so tell us, what can the international community do to help you?
Yeah. So Dr. Saab is asking that what can the international community do to help? That's a very good question. I think there might be a problem with your voice. So in the meantime, I'll respond to that question. So international diaspora, especially United States, has been a beacon of democracies throughout the world and a democratic process throughout the world. Wherever the voice of you know uh, the freedom of speech, freedom of expression is suppressed, America has always come forward. You know, as we stand here on the, you know, uh, home of the brave, land of the free, we know what American values are. So I can humbly request all the people in America and in the Western countries to be aware of, to first make themselves aware of what's going on the ground. What is the ground reality, what the Indian government is doing, what is the inhumane treatment these farmers are facing. So first is, if we can build pressure, if you can call your local leaders, your, if you are in your make spread awareness among other constituents, call your local elected officials, you know uh, if they can maybe pass a resolution, maybe spread more awareness among other communities over here, so that we can get at least all those farmers who are in the prisons released first, you know uh, because they have been detained illegally. They're 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 charged with sedition, but there is no charge sheets that have been filed in courts. Most of these farmers have not been even provided a magistrate, or they have not been even you know uh, taken to the courts. They're just detained in jails. So that is such an unconstitutional, you know uh, illegal and unconstitutional thing that's happening. So that is one big help that we need. And there should be human right intervention. There should be voices raised for all the people who have lost their family members, who have people who have lost their limbs, people who have lost their eyes, people who are being physically handicapped for life now because of this inhuman treatment. So we need to be their voice. And then the second thing is, uh, because although India would say this is an internal matter of India, but should we not ask the question to Indian government, why is there so much farmer suicide in India? Why are 400,000 farmers have died in last you know decade or so? Why Marathawada and Vidarbha alone, these two regions in Maharashtra, have more than 70 to 80 farmer suicides every week? What is happening? Is there a price that you can provide for the crops, so these people can at least financially become stable? I'll give you a very dangerous figure. which is very shameful as well. It's no matter of pride. India has become the suicide capital of farmers in the world, especially the Maharashtra region. More than you know, as I said, 70 to 80 farmers are committing suicide every week. So just imagine. I'll give you a figure. Ages less than 45. They're farmers who are young and who have still more than half their lives remaining, and they have debts less than 2 lakh rupees, which is 200,000 rupees, which equates to near about 25 to 3,000 US dollars. Just imagine if you would tell an American on the street that your brother committed suicide because he had a debt of 3,000 US dollars. I think he would not be able to comprehend the gravity of the situation, because the system is such that they're charged with 3 to 4% of interest monthly. Median income is 2,700 rupees, so they're paying 4,000 interest every month. The wives of these farmers have even sold all their jewelry. They have sold literally everything. They have no financial help. They have no mental health help. So there should be mental health intervention. All these suicides are preventable and they can be fixed. So I really humbly request to all the international diaspora that we should be looking into this inhumane treatment that these farmers have been receiving for decades now. So we should do something about it. We should spread awareness. We should call our local elected officials and to ask them what is their position on these farmer protests going on in India. Are they supporting the farmer or are they against the farmer? Should they be doing the right thing or should they just try to have an unpopular view? Just imagine, you know, uh, there is, the history that we have with
Okay,
us.
Karanbir, I'll
America
have
has
you
always
there.
supported the right thing. So we
Thank
should
you
just
so
do the
much
right
for
thing.
painting the picture of what's happening in India. It is definitely shameful for the largest democracy in the world. And as you categorized India as the suicide capital for farmers, which is very, very unfortunate and very, very disconcerting for the intellectual community, for every human being around the world. And we do have empathy for the farmers of Marathwada, for the farmers of Vidarbha, and the high suicide rates every week in those regions. We definitely need to have concerns, and we have the solidarity with you. Nobody should be against farmers. I don't think even the government of India is against the farmers, but the misunderstanding or some kind of politics is definitely going on there. And thank you so much. We really appreciate your passion and your solidarity with the farmers movement. We are with you definitely at this point, and we appreciate your time. Do you have any last word as a call to action? Let's see if we have any questions from our audience. It doesn't look like. Maybe we had some technical difficulties on and off. So at this point, we heard your call to action that people should be aware what's going on, and I think that's a good beginning. At this point, do you have a last word, Karanbir?
So thank you so much, Dr. Gaulee, for having me. It has been, a very. I'm very humbled by the interest that your community has shown, and the curiosity. So I think the first step is definitely like learning about what the issue is. So we are definitely moving in the right direction. So I just want to again humbly request, and I would also like, there is so much support coming from American farmers for their counterparts in India, because American farmer is also has debt piling, and there is a lot of suicide over here as well. So they have shown their solidarity. So we can just maybe Google it, maybe just try to find it on the internet. You'll find multiple articles. So just try to read about it. I would urge the community members and try to know about the issue going on. And so the sad truth is that, as President John F. Kennedy said, the farmer is the only person in the world that pays freight both ways. So the farmers have been abused and by both traders, by markets, by you know by these big corporations, so there is much more awareness that needs to go in there, and we should invest into mental health infrastructure for the farmers, because these suicides are preventable, and there's a lot that is going on already, in America and other developed countries for farmer mental health. So why should not developing countries like India and even Nepal and Pakistan, Bangladesh, should they not have their mental health infrastructure for the farmers? Why does a young farmer, less than 45 years old, have to finish his life over a debt of $2,000 to $3,000? you know Life is such a wonderful gift by God, or if you believe in nature, this human life is so precious. So all these lives, all these hours, of protest that's going on are precious, that they can be used into productivity of the country, for economic growth.
Life is precious, and so is time. So at this point, I would definitely like to thank you. I would like to thank Delegate Harry Bhandari, who is also the chairman of NAAFA, for creating this opportunity for us for this platform. I would like to thank Vice Chairman Arjun Hamal and General Secretary Dr. Krishna Vista, and all of our media partners making this happen today. We hope we quenched some of your thirst about this wood burning issue, which definitely matters to us and every human around the world, particularly from our friends in India. Thank you, Karanbir, Singh, Sekhon, for being that passionate activist. And thank you for enlightening us. I wish we had a government representative to ask some of the good questions that you really asked. And those are really, really good questions. We will keep asking those questions, okay? And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nepali community, for the support. And I just heard the good news that our Narayan Shrestha sir will be facilitating the next round of political action talk series that we inaugurated today. It is great. We have a great set of journalists with us. And it's a pleasure to know that our own BBC journalist, Narayan Shrestha sir, will be facilitating next conversation. And this is definitely a very important platform among the Nepali diaspora. And we thank our guests, we thank our audiences, we thank your active participation, we thank your patience with us when we struggled with technology. You didn't leave. I really appreciate and salute.
Thanks, Dr. Gaulee, and thanks, Delegate Bhandari. Thank you again.